Hi there. So to have a little think about what we could do with some tinned fruit, I thought maybe we could show you how to do an upside down pudding. It's quite old school, but sometimes it's quite nice to go retro and have something a bit old school. So we've got some tinned pineapple that I opened yesterday. Obviously it can't stay in its tin once it's open, so I've taken it out of its tin, left it in its juice, put it in the fridge covered overnight with cling film, and then today I'm going to use this up in this dessert. I've got a dish to put this in. This dish probably would feed 3 to 4 people. You could make them in smaller ramekins, little individual dishes, or you could make a bigger pie altogether. I'm making half quantity to this recipe because there's only 3 people going to be eating this. So if you wanted to feed 4 people or more, then you could consider doubling the recipe and maybe having a bit left over. First thing I'm going to do is just take a little bit of butter on a bit of kitchen roll and just grease the bottom and sides of this tin. This will mean that the pineapple mix and sponge won't stick to the tin so badly, because we want to be able to get this out at the end and hopefully turn it up the right way. So that's greased. I then cut a little bit of baking paper, greaseproof paper, just so that it will line the bottom of this tin. We're going to make a syrup with some sugar and some butter in a minute, and what we don't want to do is for that to stick to this tin and not let the pineapple be released at the end. So just put a bit of greaseproof paper on top. Then I'm going to head to my saucepan. Now again, this is all half recipes, half the quantity of the recipe. So I've got in here about 15 grams of butter and about 15 grams of brown sugar. Brown sugar is great, however if you don't have brown sugar, white sugar would be every bit as good. I turned the heat on very gently and I've melted this. The sugar won't dissolve, it will still be there, it will still be visible. However, the butter has melted, that's the main aim here. I'm then going to just pour this into the bottom of the greased tin. Now, as the sugar is still whole, it hasn't dissolved, it's all landed in one place. So I'm just going to use the back of the spoon just to ease it around the edges a little bit. This, when the pudding is cooking, will mean that it is forming a really nice caramel on the top of the pudding, or what will be the top when you turn it out. I'm going to take the pineapple that I've got and just lay that in. Now, because it's quite a small tin, a dish that I'm cooking this in, I might only be able to fit 3 of my pineapple rings in there. However, there are some spaces. If you want to and if you choose to, you can always take some cherries, some glacé cherries, and just put those around the edges as well, just to up the fruit content. But if you don't have the glacé cherries, it's not a problem. This can then go to one side, and we're going to start on the sponge mix, which is going to go on the top. I'll just rinse my hands. And then I'm going to take 50 grams of margarine. As I said, this is half the recipe, so you can always add more, you can always double this. But in this time of trying not to waste food, I'm trying to make sure that what I do will get eaten and not wasted. So there's 50 grams there. That's just normal baking margarine. To that I'm going to add 50 grams of sugar. And I'm next going to add 60 grams of flour. So 60 grams of flour is going to go in. This is self-raising. If you only have plain flour at home, then you can always add a little bit of baking powder if you've got it, which will give the raising agent that the self-raising flour has and will help it to rise in the oven, which is what we want. The last thing I'm going to do is, taking that off the scale so I don't break them, is put 1 egg in. shell, let's take that out. I'm just going to wash my hands after handling the raw egg. I'm then going to take my electric whisk and whisk until the mixture is combined. If you don't have an electric whisk, it's absolutely fine for you to beat this with a spoon or with a handheld manual whisk. That's absolutely fine. Some people might like to do pear and chocolate as their variation. If you wanted to do that, you could always take a tablespoon of the flour out, or do a tablespoon less of the flour, and add a tablespoon of cocoa powder if you've got that at home. This is likely to get messy, and I'm just going to give this a quick whisk. Now this would be absolutely fine to now pop into your dish on top of the top of the tin fruit you put in. However, I've got all this liquid here from the tin, and so I'm going to add in just a couple of spoonfuls of that liquid just to add a bit more pineapple flavour into this. I'll just stir that in. Don't add too much of the liquid because it will affect the ratios, but it will just slacken the mixture off. And hopefully it's easy to get into the tin. And I'm going to just spoon this on top of, I'm going to use the spoons that I used for weighing out earlier because it's all the same mixture, on top of my fruit as best I can, getting it all over the mixture. It may not completely cover all of this. That's okay, it will spread out in the oven and will hopefully cover everything. Let's try and get into some of those corners so it doesn't have to work too hard to get in there. Now cooking this, you're going to want to cook this on about gas mark 4, which is a fan of roughly approximately 160, 170. And you want to cook it for probably 40 plus minutes in this small size. If you were going to do double the mix, then I would put it in for nearer the hour. You're looking for the mixture to go spongy, well risen, golden, and when you touch it lightly with your clean little finger, you're looking for that mixture to bounce back up. If it doesn't, and if it stays in like a dimple, it means that you just need to give it a little bit longer to try and let that mixture cook. Just going to ease that over the top. I'm going to pop this then into the oven, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out in a little while. So there we are, smoothed around, and that's going to go into the oven now. Okay, so the upside down pudding's come out of the oven. Obviously you can use any fruit on the bottom of this that you want that's been tinned. You could probably even use fresh apple as well if you had an apple at home that you could slice up and put on the bottom. It's come out about 5 minutes ago. I've just left it that time so that the syrup that's on the bottom is hopefully a little bit cooler. I've gone around just with a knife that I'd use to butter my bread, just to loosen the sponge away from the side. And I can already see there's a bit of paper there that if I need to, I could lift this up with. I'm going to turn it upside down though. Place those on top, up the other way, and then hopefully you get your pineapple upside down pudding. Obviously you can then put into that your strawberries, sorry not strawberries, you could put your cherries in the middle of that, which would give it a bit more colour, but you can see the brown sugar's giving it a really nice caramelised texture on the top and a lovely colour and a bit of stickiness. You can then serve that up for pudding hopefully one night. Hopefully there's not too many ingredients in there, and what there is possibly things that you might be able to find or source at home. Hope you enjoy that one.